Episode 49 of the SmartB Sports Update with Dan and John from SmartB. That's who we are for when you gotta be like, who are these guys? Dan and John from SmartB, social media blower-uppers. How you going, man?
Hey, how's it going, John?
I'm fantastic, man. I watched the Bulldogs game last night.
Mate, they looked pretty good, didn't they? I mean, we don't want to get too carried away with a trial game, but, you know.
They looked awesome against the second-string Storm team featuring Ryan Pappenhausen.
Yeah, 24-12 win for the Doggies at Belmore Sports Ground. We'll get into it a bit later, John, but they were missing a lot of players.
Yep.
They did have a lot of opportunities, a lot of ball. You know, again, you can only beat who's put in front of you. There's certainly reasons to have heart, I would have thought, after their display last night.
I was actually, had the KO on in the car while I was driving home for the first half as well. Don't tell the police. So I didn't watch it as closely as I would have liked.
Don't worry, John, I won't say anything.
Okay, cool. Just don't let them know. Wait, can we black that part out? But we're going to kick off with Rugby League, so it's good segue.
Yes.
And, we've got two more teams to preview, so we're going to get through them today. And it's time for, honestly, guys, it's just our opinion, our 2024 season preview for 2023 second place team, the Broncos. I was looking at them. I foolishly only did my research today. Totally forgot about it. That's fine. I was looking at them. They've got a lot of losses with very little gains for a team that got so close to winning a premiership last year. Gaining only Fletcher Baker from the Roosters and Jaden Hunt from the Dragons.
Yeah.
But losing, they didn't lose small players like fringe first graders or anything. They lost Kurt Capewell, Herbie Farnsworth, Thomas Flegler, Keenan Palacia, and Ethan Kai Ward. Keenan Palacia. It just gets worse as you go up that list. Like Ethan Kai Ward, Keenan Palacia, Tom Flegler, what? Herbie Farnsworth, Kurt Capewell. And like I said, that's some big losses. They obviously got some re-signings with Corey Oates, the 18th man. Pat Carrigan.
He seems to be on the outs a bit, doesn't he, Corey Oates?
Well, that was the weird thing. Like, he was 18th man or whatever, and he was like, I'm just happy to be 18th man. I'm happy to be in the team. And they're like, okay, he's a good clubman, I guess.
Yeah, John, with the Broncos, and one thing that I've obviously done a fair bit of research on them going into our preview on their season today, and one thing that wasn't pointed out in a lot of the, I guess, the research material that I've looked at online, I'm sort of worried about how they're gonna respond to the way their season ended last year. They had that 24-8 lead with 18 minutes to go in the grand final, and they bombed it. It's the worst fade out that I can remember in a grand final. I mean, there are other tight finishes. Obviously, we think about 2015 Broncos Cowboys, but that was a much closer game. I mean, the Cowboys won a tight one in that game. But, the game was close the whole way through, so it wasn't the biggest surprise the Cowboys got up. We think about the 1997 grand final with Manly and Newcastle. Obviously, Newcastle getting up on the siren there with Joey Johns putting Darren Albert in for that try. And a lot of people talk about 1989. That's not before my time, but before my memory, John. I can't remember that one, but a lot of people talk about that, how the Balmain bombed that against Canberra. But certainly in my memory, there's been no bigger fade out in a grand final than the Broncos last year against the Panthers. And what sort of psychological impact will that have on the Broncos going into this year, do you think, John?
Well, you look at, speaking of those games, and thanks for not bringing up 1999, but 1999 is
yes, that was one that I overlooked.
Clear example, because 1999 was the beginning of the Dragons being labelled the chokers.
And they did lead 14-0, didn't they? Yeah, that's true. That's one that I forgot about.
There was no controversial circumstances as to how the try was a try, okay? Only an idiot thinks it wasn't. It was a penalty try, okay? but it took them years to get over like that as a club, as a culture, that choking culture. So it's a very good point you raised because, like we discussed even like last week or week before, like, 2005, 2006, the Dragons were like the best team as well. Parramatta won the minor premiership, but the Dragons got knocked out by Tigers in Melbourne or whatever it was. They were meant to win. They were expected to win. They were the bookie favourites leading into the finals, and they choked in both those games. They didn't really get over that until Wayne Bennett came along and changed the entire culture of the club. Now, the Broncos have been forced to watch the match. That was in the news. Kevy made them watch it. He's since he took over in 2021, when the Broncos were on like a downer, they had been terrible for years. He in 2020 they were in the finals, were fifth or something like that. But he took over in 2021. And they came 10th in his first year, and of course it was instant Kevy's going to get sacked. Then it was 5th and 2nd. So he's built them up into, I know it's only 3 years, but 66% of the time Kevy's been there, they've been finals appearers. But they could seriously become like the Dragons, the Chokers. For the next 20 years, it could be like this, or 11 years, it could be this like thing where they're Chokers. So the mental games do come into it a lot, I think.
Yeah, I think in 2022, I think they were up there, but I think didn't they drop out? I'm pretty sure they might have dropped out of the 8 that year and bombed out. But 23, obviously they've come good. We can just double check how they went in 2022. I'm pretty sure they were up there, but then faded out late.
They were fifth.
Sorry,
but we can check what happened in.
Sorry, maybe I'm thinking about 2021. Sorry, I think 2021 might have been the year where they had a year where they were up there for the whole year, and then faded out.
Oh yeah, and in preseason challenge. They're concentrating on the preseason challenge.
Oh right, okay, so we'll go.
Yeah. So 2022, and then go Broncos. So yeah, like they. How do you see the finals here? I don't know.
If you go ladder, and then go 2022.
Yeah, that's when they were fifth in 2022.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Sorry.
So 2021.
So 2021 might have been the year I'm thinking about. Sorry.
So
where they started well and then they faded out.
I'm looking for a Broncos logo to appear in the top 8. No, 2021 they were out of the 8 the whole time. Yeah, no, they didn't even. They just sat at. They ended up 14th. That was Wayne Bennett's.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So, but I guess that 99 grand final you're thinking about. The Dragons did have a 14-0 lead, but there was still time for the Storm in that game to come back. The Dragons took that lead early, and the Storm did have time in the game to come back. So even that, I don't think is as bad as, as the Broncos last year, that 24-8 lead, and then losing the game 26-24. So anyway, let's hope that it doesn't have a lasting impact on them, John. But they literally had that premiership stolen from them.
By Nathan Cleary.
Yeah, that in the last 18 minutes of the game last year.
They're going to be playing Dolphins, Titans, Storms, Cowboys, Eels, Panthers, Rabbitohs and Roosters twice. So Storm, Panthers, Roosters are the really big ones. And we've both got Cowboys, Eels and Rabbitohs in our 8. So, though, it's got top 8 teams 10 times, but, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So our suggested 2024 top 8, they'll be playing 12 times. They begin the year, though, basically at home. 7 of 12 games at the beginning of the year to open the year with only 3 top 8 teams twice. So they do have a long wait for their first bye, so they're going to have basically a long opening. I think their first bye is in round 13. And then they open the season in Vegas, obviously, against the Roosters, and then play Rabbitohs at home, Panthers away, Cowboys at home, Storm away, Dolphins at home. So they've got a pretty hard opening, actually, all told, even though they are at Suncorp a lot. Their run to home, though, is relatively, a lot simpler. It's mostly in Queensland.
Yeah.
It's all local derbies. So it's Titans away, Cowboys away, then a bye, then Eels at home, Dolphins away, Storm at home. So if they were struggling around the 8 at the end of the year, I can see them. I mean, if they were competing for the 8, not all like dominating like they did this year, if they were competing for the 8, I can see them making it into the 8 on the back of their run home anyway. So I have a feeling no matter what we predict, no matter what anyone predicts, they're going to be in the 8, in spite of their possibility of having mental issues, the fact that they've got massive losses. But I think like Kevy's been able to make the 8 every year basically. So we only have 2 slots left each. Like I've got first and third, and you've got second and third.
Yeah, I will just point out, John. I think in 2022 they did actually miss out. I think there's a bit of a problem with the NRL website ladder. I've double checked elsewhere. They did finish 9th in 2022. I don't know why the NRL can't get their ladders right. I would have thought
that's bizarre.
Because I think the one you were looking at was
it had them 5th.
Yeah, but it's.
And now it has them 9th.
Yeah. So, because I think the one you had before, it had round 1 there, so they were 5th after round 1. But they did finish 9th in 2022.
Yeah, he has made the finals 3 times out of 4 or whatever. But anyway,
I just thought I'd clear that up. But yeah, I mean, it's still a formidable team, John. I can run you through a predicted round 1 team. So we got Reece Walsh, Dean Mariner, Selwyn Cobbo, Katoni Staggs, Jesse Arthurs. That's your back 5, and then we got Ezra Mam and Adam Reynolds in the halves. Adam Reynolds, who continues to come under fierce criticism from Gordon Tallis, of course, John.
Yep.
Payne Haas and Fletcher Baker in the front row. Billy Walters at hooker. Brendan Piakura and Jordan Rickey in the back row. Pat Carrigan, who, of course, got in a bit of a scuffle with his captain, Adam Reynolds, John.
All sorted now, mate. All sorted
out. Yeah, Pat Carrigan at lock, obviously. And then on the bench, we got Corey Pakes, Kobe Hetherington, Xavier Willison, and Corey Jensen on the bench, John.
It's still a good team.
It's still a very good team, yeah.
I was actually looking for my ladder because I can't remember what I had them.
Yeah, you've been through the ins and outs, obviously, John.
Yeah.
Jordan Rickey's the only one who they're sort of a bit worried about health-wise with a shoulder, but he should be good to go for round 1, John. Yeah, so I think Walters has indicated in the pre-season that Selwyn Cobbo is going to be in the centres, replacing Herbie Farnworth, of course, who's gone to the Dolphins, I think we said. Yep. So now the attention sort of turns to the wing. Who goes to that wing spot now that Cobbo's gone into the centres? It looks like of Jesse Arthurs will be on one side. So it's going to be between Dean Mariner, the youngster, and Corey Oates, who we touched on, who struggled to get a look in.
Surely it's going to be Corey Oates, who was 18th man. Surely, poor Corey Oates. That's an ex-Origin player. I don't understand.
Yeah, I just don't understand why. Like, all right, it's gone on this long and he's still at the Broncos. I would have thought he'd get a gig at most other clubs, John.
Yeah.
I'd take him in a heart. Well, actually, our back 5's looking pretty good now.
I'd definitely take him.
But, yeah, you'd take him at St George. There's a lot of clubs who would take him on for sure. So, yeah, that'll be interesting, John. You'd have to think, Mariner, I'd say he's probably got the jump on Oates at the moment, just from the way they've sort of overlooked Oates in recent times.
Oates can't
John.
get picked. It's so bizarre. And he's like I said, he keeps saying how happy he is just to be there and stuff like that. Like he doesn't want to leave, and he's happy to just do whatever the team needs, be it 18th man. But yeah, I'd take him at the Dragons in a heartbeat. Like I just can't understand. There's a bunch of teams that would take him, and maybe he just wants to stay in Brisbane no matter what.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see how they go this year, John. I think they'll be thereabouts again. I don't think these mental scars are going to be an issue in the regular season at all.
Yeah, I think so.
And I don't think they'll be an issue in the early part of the final series. But I think if they I've actually got them finishing second, John, and making the grand final again. But do I think the way they ended last year in that grand final, is it going to have an impact on them once they get there again? In my view, they will. I think that it will, John. I think that the scars, the scars will be there. I don't think this is a case of you often hear you got to lose one to win one with regard to grand finals. But that was a different sort of loss. That was a loss that you'd rather, as I've said many times, John, you'd rather lose by 20 or 30 in a grand final than lose it like that. You'd rather never be in the game and have no chance.
Yeah, well, especially because it was close and then Broncos were clearly going to win.
Yeah.
It was close, and then the Broncos came on top and went, nope, we are the better team. And then Nathan Cleary said, nope, I'm the better player.
Yeah, he well and truly did that.
Well, yeah, I think they're going to have something to prove all year, and they're going to come out and bash everyone and prove that they deserved the win last year. And I have actually have them finishing one better and going the minor premiership.
Okay.
But same as you, I don't think they'll win the premiership. I don't think they'll make the premiership. I think it will end up being Storm and Panthers in the end.
In the grand final?
Yeah, if it's possible with the latter. I don't really know how all these things work. I think it is. Well, obviously now we both have Panthers at third.
You can slot that in, John. Process of elimination.
So you got Warriors versus Broncos first, second, and then I've got Broncos Storm first, second, and then both of us have Panthers third. Yeah. But that's pretty much it for the Broncos. We did extensive information on them last year as well. But we do have to now discuss how we think the Panthers are going to go and justify why we both think they're going to come third and both think they're not going to make the grand final.
Yeah, it's going to take some sort of justification, John.
So honestly, guys, it's just our opinion for the Panthers. Their gains, their gains and losses here are remarkably different. Right? They've gained Paul Alamoti from the Bulldogs, Dane Laurie from the Tigers, Riley Price from the Cowboys, and Brad Schneider from the Raiders. So their gains are like players from teams that are not top teams, you know? And then obviously they're the best team, and they've lost Jack Cogger, which we discussed, Stephen Crichton, Zach Hosking, Tom Jenkins, Spencer Leniu, and Jamin Salmon. So, just the names that stand out when you look at all of that is Stephen Crichton, Spencer Leniu.
Yeah,
there's no gain to replace them.
They're the two that stand out, John. And, obviously Ivan Cleary thinks he can get something out of Paul Alamoti from the Bulldogs and Dane Laurie from the West Tigers. And, we're certainly not going to question Penrith's recruitment at all.
No. Who they keep and who they
They've got much more of an idea of how to recruit players than the Tigers or the Bulldogs do, that's for sure.
Who they keep and who they let go over the past 3 years is not up for debate as to whether it has an effect.
Yeah, but I think it is fair to say, looking at that, they have lost more than they've gained. Obviously, the big outs are Stephen Crichton and Spencer Leniu going to the Bulldogs and Roosters, respectively. They're huge outs, and Dane Laurie and Paul Alamoti certainly don't fill their shoe. I mean, obviously different positions with Dane Laurie, but Paul Alamoti doesn't fill the shoes of Stephen Crichton. There's just no way. And Spencer Leniu, that damaging interchange forward, probably the best impact forward in the competition. They've lost him and haven't replaced him. So yeah, John, I think, and this might sound a bit, sort of pie in the sky, but I just don't think they're going to win 4 in a row because at some stage injuries get you. At some stage Origin representation gets you. At some stage you have a season where luck just doesn't all go your way. It's the yin and the yang, John. The yin and the yang. If you win 3 in a row, at some stage, you're going to have a season where injuries hit you. They've lost depth this year with no Crichton and no Leniu. And that means, obviously they're 1-17, which I'll go through in a moment, is still very strong, of course. But once you lose those key players and don't replace them, well, you lose depth. And then once you get injuries, you leave yourself exposed. So it's purely just based on the yin and the yang, John. I think this year they'll get more injuries than they would like, and an Origin representation will hit them harder than they would like.
Well, that's right. We have them, so we have them there for a slide. Look, they play Broncos, Sea Eagles, Storms, Knights, Cowboys, Eels, Rabbitohs, Dragons twice. So they have one team that we both think will go terribly, 2 teams that we think will be top 4, and then two teams that we both think will go terribly, two teams that we both think will go be top four, and the rest are teams that we both think will make it the 8, playing twice. Yeah. They do have the hardest opening to the season out of any team. So it's been classified as the 13th most difficult draw. Like it's a very difficult draw, but the opening rounds are Storm away, the Eels at home, Broncos at home, Roosters away, Seagulls away. Now, even if you don't rate the Eels are the Panthers' bogey team. They seem to just have it over them in a couple of last few years. And I think
with the exception of that grand final. Yeah.
And I think that is going to set their season. They're going to have these really difficult opening. They have a bye, opening 6 rounds or 5 rounds, and it's going to set their season, make it hard for them to get back to that minor premiership. Even the run home is very easy, and that'll keep them in the 8 as well. Like the Knights at home, Eels away, Storm at home, Raiders away, Rabbitohs at home, and Titans at home. So there's a few like bottom 8 teams in there that they'll be able to get over, and Knights always come good at the end of Panthers always come good at the end of the season. Now, something to their credit, which saves them a lot, is during Origin, 2 of their buys cover the matches that their players will be out. So they'll still have to back up, but they won't have to play 2 of the Origins. They won't have to play with weakened sides, which saves them 4 points, which can be a lot. Yeah. And that's why I think they will slide, but they'll still be up in that top 4. And as you say, like the depth, the long season, the 4-peat, it's all just counting against them now, which will prevent them from getting that grand final win again.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the yin and the yang. At some stage, injuries get you. At some stage, the stars don't align for you. And I mean, obviously, we've got them 3rd, so there's obviously no shame in that at all. Yeah. It's still going to be. We predict it's still going to be a very good season from them. But yeah, I just think I really, as I've said before, I think a team like the Warriors are really, I think they're really primed this year. I think they improved a hell of a lot in Andrew. Andrew Webster's only had 1 season with them, and look how much they've improved. So I think another off season under Webster, I think they're really in a position to take that step of winning their first premiership. And yeah, I just don't think it'll quite be Penrith's year this year. They can't keep winning them forever. At some stage, enough things are going to go against them for them not to win it, and I think that'll be this year.
Yeah, only the Dragons can win 11 in a row.
Yeah, well, you'll be happy with that, John. The Dragons' record's well and truly intact.
So that's honestly, guys, it's just our opinion for the year for the Panthers. We'll come up with some new things next week. But the ladders will go on to smartb.com.au as a featured news article for now, and then you'll always be able to track them. And at the end of the season, of course, we'll have a look at them, and we'll all make fun of Dan for putting the Storm at 10th.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that pile on, John.
It's going to remember that time you put the Storm at 10th. Every week we'll bring it up, but it's dangerous to bring it up every week because there can always be a Rabbitohs 2023 slide.
Yes, leading the comp after 11 rounds and missing the
So it can be like, 11 rounds. See, I told you Storm would make it, and then 10 rounds later you're like, see, I told you the Storm wouldn't. So yeah, that's it for all of our previews. All 17 teams now done, and we can go into the match last night. As I said at the opening, I watched it in the car while driving. So beep that out, producer pile. And yeah, I thought they were good. I thought Toby Sexton was really good. I thought their attack they're really, really great. Those forwards that we as much discussion, like they're going to have to stand up. They stood up very well. Obviously, it's trials. What can you say? Pappenhausen had a cracker of a game, so I can see him going well this year. I scored a try. The only thing I think is really from the Bulldogs' perspective is can all those young forwards maintain that rage for 25 rounds?
Yeah, that's right, John. I thought that they were really good. Probably. For a lot of the first half, that they had a real lot of opportunities and maybe didn't really take as many as they should have, but that they fixed things up in the second half. Serraldo obviously got in their ear at half time, and yeah, Jason Taylor, who is working on the attack. He was in the box with Serraldo. I'm sure he had some things to say at halftime, and it really seemed to straighten up their attack. Bronson Cherry scored a try as well, John.
He was playing in the centres,
Yeah, on his return, they were missing a number of players in the back line. Stephen Crichton, Josh Adokar, Connor Tracy, Jacob Kiraz all weren't playing, and you talk about the forwards. Viliami Kickow wasn't there as well. I don't think the back row's an issue, as we've talked about. The front row may be an issue for the Bulldogs.
Yeah.
It's almost like in Gould's pursuit of all these sort of bench utility type players who can cover a lot of positions, that's sort of come at the expense of quality front rowers, I think. But, all in all, John, pretty impressed with how it all went for them. They did have a lot more ball. Dogs had 57% of the ball to Melbourne's 43%. I think Liam Knight, I think he was trying a bit too hard last night. John made a couple of errors. It's almost like he was on. That tends to happen with players who are sort of on the fringes a little bit. That they try too hard in the trial games. Like, he's sort of a fringe player who sort of touch and go whether he makes that 17 for round one. And you sort of think players like that go, oh, well, it's a trial, I may as well push the offloads, I've got nothing to lose. And I think he tried too hard last night, and that may count against him come selection time for round one.
There's still that pre-season challenge competition that they're pushing so much right now.
They got another game next week against the Sharks at Belmore. That's part of a double header. The Roosters are playing the Rabbitohs as well, so that's a double header at Belmore next week. John, one thing I
should try and get tickets to that. That's on Friday.
Friday, yeah.
Both at Belmore. I should try and get tickets to that.
Yeah. It'd be good. John, one thing I wanted to point out just watching the game last night, I don't know how much of the game you saw, but John, why is the bunker and the... not a lot.
No, none of it. I was driving.
That's all right. Oh, yeah, sorry, you were driving. You weren't watching the game while you were driving. John, why are the bunker and the captain's challenge being used in trial games? It's a trial game. Just let the game flow, make the decision. If you get a decision wrong, no one's going to care. But why are we getting hung up on bunker referrals and captain's challenge in a trial game, John?
Yeah, I
didn't understand that.
I know they used to not do it, but I think because they're televised now, and there's all the angles.
Are they worried that some journalists like Buzz Rothfield are going to give it to them if they get it wrong because it's televised?
Yeah, exactly. I would say that's the entire motivation. Like I was saying last week, I missed the NYC because they didn't use that stuff, and it was so much fun. It wasn't important. I mean, it was important to the players who play it. And shout out Saunders, who played in the NYC, Josh Saunders, one of my jiu-jitsu mentors. And I know it was important to the players, but it's not important to the crowd. And everyone was excited by the NYC because it was those 48 to 46 matches, like just tries, like basically touch football. And we would see at the games like clear drops. But, the ref would be up the field because the kids are so fast and just award it. And we'd be on the sideline and be like, I dropped it, who cares? It was cool, man. And that's it's trials. I understand.
Yeah.
And we don't want, even in real matches, like proper matches, obviously they're all room matches, but proper matches, that much involvement either. I don't like the bunkers whisper response, I don't like it. If the ref misses something and doesn't refer it to the bunker, too bad. It's okay for me. It's okay for the ref to miss something that the bunkers or the video cameras see, if you can justify it as to why the ref was missing it. If you want to let the bunker and the video refs and the broadcasters involved in any decisions, you kind of have to let them be involved in every decision, because this is really the issue I have with it. It's like, the bunker can do that whisper down and tell him to check the try on these specific rules, but not on everything, And it's like, well, why and how do you pick these ones? And
that's the thing. You're never going to get the perfect game, John. It can't be done. And people say, oh, you got to get it right. You got to get it right. But I mean, the main thing is that the game is entertaining. and to constantly go upstairs and check with the bunker, it's not entertaining.
No.
So do you really want to get everything right at the expense of the game itself and the spectacle itself? And that's what the game needs to weigh up. Now, I think we're going to get a lot more chance to talk about this as the season proper
gets rugby league. It's going to be every
gets
week.
underway, John. But mainly my argument at the moment is it just shouldn't be there for the trials.
Yeah.
If you're just making the decision because you're scared that journalists are going to jump on it, well, I think you got to be a bit stronger than that, and you got to go, look, we don't care about the referee getting decisions wrong in trial games. It's a trial. You want to see the game flow. If your team gets beaten in these games, you don't care, John. These games are meaningless. I know there's a cash prize at the end of it. I think it was $100,000, you said.
$100,000, yeah.
But, John, beyond that, I mean, nobody cares about the results of these games. Just let the game flow, have the referee make the decision.
Nobody cares.
John, I was just going to say, I'm not sure if you caught it, but Phil Gould, the Fox put the camera on him during the game, and he was seething. He looked filthy, John. If looks could kill, he went, "Oh, what? How dare you put the camera on me? Please don't put the camera on me."
Oh my God.
He really wasn't happy that the camera was on him, John. One other thing I was going to mention, Reid Marnie was placed on report for a late tackle as well, John. So that's one thing you don't want to happen in these games.
Yeah, I thought he was
going
really
on
good
report.
too. He was trying to overplay his hands a little bit, but he ended up being very good, actually.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think if he does get suspended, John, it might only be for one game, and he could serve that in the next trial. So it's not.
This is all confusing. They might have points. They might not have points. What do the points count? They do an early guilty plea. Blah 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 blah. We'll find out when the report.
Yeah,
but yeah, it was a good game. I think because the games are televised, the preseason trials are a little bit even more exciting now as well. Like there's a bit more interest in it. So I'm fully going to look into getting some tickets for that doubleheader on Friday.
Awesome.
I'll see if I can get a few and yeah,
cool.
Okay. But on other news, so ex-New South Wales selector who spent his time selecting James Tedesco in the New South Wales Blues jersey at fullback has predicted that James Tedesco will retain his Blues jersey. My understanding is Greg Alexander isn't involved with the team at all anymore.
No, he's not.
And, we discussed it with Michael Ennis about whether he says controversial things just to get some attention. And I feel like that this is one of those things. I do like Greg Alexander's commentary, and I do like his analysis of the game and stuff like that. But he's contradicting what the coach said, who said no one is safe. And there was a lot of subtext to especially James Tedesco, and then Greg Alexander's response is, I think he'll retain his number one jersey.
Well, I guess he probably feels like he's got to justify. I mean, in all honesty, John, the way Tedesco played last year in the State of Origin series, he shouldn't have been there. Yeah. And so Greg Alexander feels as though because of his involvement with the team last year, I'm sure he feels as though he's got to justify his selection of Tedesco by saying that he should still be there. It was interesting with this report, John. I'm not sure which report you read on this, but Alexander was talking to SEN 1170, and there's one quote from him where he says, "I don't think he does miss out on selection," in brackets. And then there was another quote where he says, "But I don't think James Tedesco, come Origin 1, will be New South Wales' fullback and captain." So I'm not sure if he was misquoted or if it was...
He just did a slip of the tongue.
So it was a slip of the tongue.
Yeah, I got it on smartb.com.au. And then I listened to the SEN interview, and I think it was just a slip of the tongue.
So he definitely did say Tedesco should be there again this year. There's just a lot of other options there, John. There's Dylan Edwards, there's Clint Gutherson. We've talked about. I still think, John, if Tom Trebojevic is fully fit, I think he should be there. But you got Latrell Mitchell if he has a good start to the season. Ryan Pappenhausen as well returned last night. There's these other options, John, a lot of them. And so if you're looking tired in that position, that's a highly competitive position for New South Wales, that New South Wales number one jumper, it's in very heavy demand, John. There's a lot of competition.
Yeah, and like you said, I just think Greg Alexander's trying to justify his selections from last year. Yeah. And I just don't think Tedesco will be there. But we'll have to say, I keep saying, we got some flack on the bloody Roosters preview about me talking about Tedesco. Seriously, guys, calm down. It's okay. On honestly, guys, it's just our opinion. And in that preview, I said he could have the year of his career. You know, he could. James Tedesco, isn't he win a golden a Dally M?
We might need to look that one up, John.
I know he's won fullback of the year.
Yeah,
he's a champion player. You know he's only 31, even though he's currently playing like he's 35.
Has he won? If you just type Dally M medal, John, and then we'll look that up.
Desco Dally M. I know he was fullback of the year. I know. There you go. He's won captain, player of the year, best fullback, Peter Frillingus Memorial Medal, and best fullback.
Yeah.
So player of the year.
Yeah, highly decorated fullback.
He's played quality for Australia. He's played quality for New South Wales. He's been player of the series in New South Wales, I believe. Player's choice player. He's been all these things, but it's just like the last couple of years he's looked and played like a guy ending his career. He it was 2019, yeah.
2009, and he won the Dally M medal.
He could have the best, and he could be the best choice, but it's just based on what we've seen for the past 6 to 8 months, year. He's not the best choice. He wasn't the best choice last year.
That's the thing.
If it continues, he won't be the best choice this year.
There's no doubting his, very glittering career for New South Wales, and he'll go down as one of the greats of the New South Wales side. But last year just showed that he was, in my view, picked for one series too many, And, we weren't saying this about him prior to last year's series because, to that point he'd had a very good New South Wales career. Yeah. But last year the cracks started to appear. And if you're a team that has lost 3 of the last 4 Origin series, you can't afford to just, let that fall by the wayside. Maybe if you were winning the series and getting away with it, maybe you could carry someone. But if you're losing the series, well, you've got to address the issue.
100%.
And Maguire has said as much. He's made it clear that, reputation doesn't count for anything. It's all going to be about form. And look, we're not saying... I even said if he has a great 8 weeks to start the season, he'll be well in the frame. But it's just that we can't guarantee that he'll be there anymore.
And then last year he didn't have a great 8 weeks to start the season. That's why he shouldn't have been there.
Didn't have a great 8 weeks to start and then had a poor series.
Yeah.
And so you put those two together and you go, well, okay, he shouldn't have been picked last year, and right now he shouldn't be picked this year unless something really changes, John.
Yeah, so... onwards, Luciano, look, this is really funny. Like, I saw this news article I was going to put in the notes. Luciano Leilua throws SmartB's predicted ladder into disarray by seeking an immediate release.
Is it too late to change my ladder?
Join the Dragons. So he's met with Flanagan. He's met with the Dragons. He's trying to go right now to the Dragons. You had him in your starting 17. I thought he would be a big part of the impact off the bench for my the Cowboys, but I had the Cowboys out of the 8 anyway, right?
I'm pretty sure you did. Yeah, I had him in, but you didn't have him in
because that Jason Taumalolo thing is still going on, and now you've added Luciano Leilua into the mix of like players immediately seeking releases. I mean, it doesn't move the Dragon. He's not going to come down and make the Dragons move off the wooden spoon for me, but it's a big loss to the Cowboys, and it kind of says to me there's something really bad going on at the Cowboys right now.
Yeah, is it too late to change my ladder? I'll stand by it, John. I'll stick with them. But it's I don't know. Do you sometimes think that is Todd Payton a bit too harsh sometimes? Perhaps
that's what I'm thinking. Like based on our ladder, okay, because that's what it goes back to. We both agreed that you could flip a coin, and the Cowboys will either make the 8 and be able to overcome all this off-field drama, or there'll be something on the off-field that affects them. We know the team is good, but if there's something goes on the off-field and it affects them, we basically flipped the coin. You got heads and went, they're going to make the 8 and overcome it. Yeah. I got tails and went, they're not going to overcome it. They're not going to make it.
And either of us could be spot on, John.
Yeah, exactly. And so, but this this leans more to there's something going on the off field again, like lends more to that like kind of thing, and some teams do overcome it. Like I said, Luciano Leilua is not going to be the deciding factor on whether Cowboys make the 8 or Dragons move off the wooden spoon for me. But the circumstances surrounding it, especially because it's like I'm going to move from far north Queensland back to a place that I already was at, and I'm going to go from Cowboys, who a lot of people are tipping to make the 8 and they're going to be successful, to back to a team that a lot of people are tipping for the spoon. Like, he's willing to sacrifice a lot of potential growth in the future for, something off field.
Yeah. So Todd Payton started at the Cowboys in 2021. They finished second last, but then he had that really good season in 2022 where they made the prelim, but then they missed the 8 last year, John, in 23. So, John, I just don't know. I noticed when he when he first started there, he was really blunt in his assessments of certain players. He seemed really harsh, like he was really forthright. And like, I love that, John. I think to an extent the younger generation these days, and you'll probably agree with me, the younger generation are wrapped in cotton wool far too much. A lot of them, I think, are scared to work hard and scared to take a bit of tough love. But you got to be a bit careful if you're an NRL coach, John. I don't. It's not like the old days where you can be, where you can just spray players in the dressing room and that they get over it the next day. That the younger generation, they're different now. You do have to give them, a bit of a cuddle, and you do have to wrap them in cotton wool to a certain extent. And I think that's where, you got to look at Payton's record and go, well, that's 2 years he's missed now. One year he made a prelim. If he misses again this year, John, I think he's in serious. I think he's gone if he misses again this year.
He could very well be the first to go for the year.
If they start poorly, absolutely. The prelim in 22 bought him a free year last year. Yeah. But now the heat's back on him, I think, John.
So we'll have to see what happens. I'm sure that'll be continuing. Meanwhile, David Nofaluma, who left the Tigers, has thrown a swipe at them, saying he got over losing.
It's pretty... It's pretty full on, isn't it, John?
He didn't leave under the best of circumstances.
No, he didn't. I've just got the quotes here, John. Yeah, he said he got over losing at the Tigers. So this is the quote, John. He told News Corp, and this I quote, I was in a similar position last year, 2022. I was playing reserve grade for the Magpies, and I still remember the phone call from Craig Bellamy. Of course, he went and played with the Storm on loan, John. I got named to play for reserve grade in the same week, got named to play NRL for the Storm when I did the loan deal. Everyone could see how I played down there. I enjoyed the new environment. It was nothing against the Tigers. I just got over losing. It was nothing against the Tigers. I just got over losing. I'll tell you what. I think that is something against the Tigers somehow.
Man, that's it's true, they haven't left in the best of circumstances. They've obviously been some issues there, and he's trying to throw a parting swipe as he goes. He's gone to England, right?
Yeah, he has. I think he's got a 1-year deal with Salford, the Salford Devils, I believe.
But yeah, well, if I was the Tigers, I would see how we go this year and then swipe back at the end of the year if they go well.
Yeah, well, they probably will, John.
We can go. They can say things like, "Thank God we got rid of that guy thank God we got rid of the devil that was a loser," or something like that. Meanwhile, more social media stuff. Josh Aloi'i makes a clarification after liking an unsavoury social media comment about Latrell Mitchell, who is captaining the Indigenous All-Stars on Friday.
Yes.
That's today, yeah.
Tonight, yeah. John, I think there was a video posted on the NRL on 9 Instagram account where Latrell Mitchell, I think it was Latrell Mitchell, and Latrell Mitchell and his brother were talking about, what they had to deal with growing up, like racism and that sort of thing. And I think what happened,
Yeah, somebody commented,
Yeah,
always plays the race card.
Yeah, I've got the quote here. So one user commented, biggest sook, I think they meant to say, and always plays the racism card. And Alloy A's liked the comment. Yeah, so, and then he says, it says, when the Manly player was made aware of his like, he quickly moved to undo his actions. Yeah, I'm pretty sure someone at his club might have had something to say about that, John.
It's so
someone
fast.
at his club rang him and said, you better unlike this, mate.
It's difficult to accidentally like a comment on Instagram, but it also is possible.
To be honest, John, I'm not buying it. I don't believe it.
I have accidentally liked things on Instagram and then immediately unliked them because I'm like, ugh, because I don't like much on on any social medias. But it's difficult to accidentally like a comment.
But if you accidentally like it, wouldn't you unlike it?
Yeah, that's
straight
what I mean.
away?
Like I do. So when you're using Instagram, whether you're on Reels or on your feed, there's a heart there, right? And so you only have to tap the heart once to like. You can double tap anything to like it. You have to tap the heart once to like. To accidentally like a comment, unless that comment is like the trending comment, the most important comment, the biggest comment, you have to go to the comments. You have to read the comment. The heart is tiny. Like, it's a little bit sus. But as I said, I reserve judgment because I have accidentally liked comments on social media.
You have, but I'm sure you quickly realised that you liked it and then unliked it before anyone could
went
ever
from
work
white
out
to red, and I went, ugh.
So the fact that it was left liked for long enough for someone to pick up on it and go, hang on, Josh, you better do something about it, makes me doubt his story, John.
Yeah, but it could be that he was liking the fact that somebody called Latrell Mitchell a sook and didn't read the rest of the thing. Like, one of the main things about social media actually is everybody shouldn't read the comments anyway. Just ignore all comments. I mean, we do.
Yeah, I've come to realise that, John.
but we do it for laughs. So,
the only thing is, John, I mean, obviously Latrell Mitchell and his brother should not have been subjected to this when they were younger, John. It's terrible that they were subjected to this. But what sort of frustrates me a little bit, and obviously this is too far, John, nobody should be subjected to racial abuse under any circumstances. But this is a problem. Someone like Alloy goes too far in liking this comment, and then for other matters where Latrell Mitchell should be held legitimately accountable for things that I've documented many times on this podcast, John, that gets overlooked because a couple of people like Josh Alloy and Rod Churchill last year go too far with it.
Yep.
And so he uses that to make himself immune from legitimate criticism on other matters.
Yeah.
And that's where the issue is with Latrell. Look, but anyway, John, hopefully good luck to him with captaining the All-Stars tonight. And
I won't be able to watch, but I hope they win.
You know what I mean, John? I just think
100%. Yeah, that's the thing. Like as I said, like I reserve judgment. But my scale is tipped towards the negative one in the comments. Like it's hard to accidentally like a comment, and you tend to notice. But I reserve judgment. Like it does just cause the continual Latrell Mitchell issues. Like it does. You just continue about Latrell with things like this. It's terrible when anybody like. I talk about a lot. People on social media that abuse people are cowards. People who abuse kids are cowards. And I always say, like, to my kids, I'm not averse to kicking a 12-year-old in the head if they're picking on you. I'm only joking. I am averse to it. Yeah. But, I mean, like, you shouldn't, as an adult, you don't pick on kids. And you definitely don't racially abuse them. You don't chase them down the street. Because I watched a thing, he was talking about how they would chase them down the street after footy and try and bash them and stuff like that because they just carved up their team and stuff. So, yeah, like, what he's talking about is a massive issue in society and it should actually be looked at. The problem is when you have stuff like this and Latrell Mitchell's continued history, people pay less attention to it because of Latrell Mitchell both ways. He talks about stuff negatively and makes a lot of stuff about himself, and then other idiots go too far in their criticism of him. And it takes away from the message he's trying to send. Because like I always say, Latrell Mitchell's really good in the community. He wins those awards. There's a lot of community work, and he very rarely gets talked about it. He doesn't want to be. But what gets talked about with Latrell is ongoing issues between him and other people. Like, just...
Yeah, it's like Rod Churchill went way too far in calling him a cancer. That was ridiculous. Josh Alloyer's gone way too far in liking this comment. Way too far.
Way too far.
But those two things shouldn't make Latrell immune from other criticism, which is legitimate. And there were a lot of reasons to make legitimate criticism of Latrell last year.
Absolutely, and it shouldn't take away from the community work he does. It does. All of this domino.
It shouldn't.
The dominoes fall, and it just takes away from all of the good he does. Actually, we mentioned Adam Reynolds and Pat Carrigan are best friends again. Kevin Walters has denied that there is a problematic drinking culture at the Broncos. I tend to agree. A bit of argy-bargy between mates is not a problematic drinking culture.
No, yeah, I've seen the footage, John.
You watched the 4 seconds?
I did watch it. It's no big deal. It's not the crime of the century. It certainly is not. That having been said, and they're talking about they're going to fine them, I think that's in order, John. I don't think this can just be allowed to happen. Of the captain and the vice captain of the club having a scuffle that gets caught on video. There were no punches thrown. It was not a big scuffle or anything. We're certainly not going to turn it into something that it wasn't. But I think that there needs to be a fine here, John.
Yeah, absolutely.
It is not a good look to have your captain and vice captain involved in a scuffle which
100%.
Someone's caught on video.
That's 100%, right? Like that's it. And I thought it was a mobile phone footage, but now I've realised it's CCTV footage. But there is also mobile phone footage. So I'm going to reiterate: those guys shouldn't hang out with people that. I have two major issues with it. Either way, irrespective, regardless of the Broncos thing. Number one, they shouldn't hang out with people who have mobile phones that they don't know, that they aren't 100% certain they're safe with. Number two, the person who had the CCTV who sold it to the news media, scumbags.
Yeah. I don't think much of the person who took the video, John, at all.
There's two videos now. There's like social media video, and then there's a CCTV footage where you can see like Payne Haas and stuff as well as involved. But they're not in trouble. They were just trying to they were having a fun stacks on and then tried to break it up. But the person who sold that CCTV, scumbags. Same as the guy who sold the CCTV of Kickow when he went to the Bulldogs and stuff like that. Yeah, all scumbags, man. Scumbags.
So I think a fine is in order for both players, and then we just move on. We get
forget
on
about it, never talk about it again.
Yeah.
That's rugby league for the week. On to cricket, where the West Indies has pulled a massive upset and beaten Australia in the third T20.
Yeah, T20I.
Yep, who cares?
So Australia winning that series 2-1, John. We can move on. I don't think anyone cares.
Dave Warner, though, afterwards, he had a good series, actually. Confirmed that he's now retired completely from international cricket.
So he's going to pull the pin from international cricket after the T20 World Cup mid-year. John, of course, he's retired from Test cricket. That was well documented. I don't need to tell anyone that. And the ODIs, he said that obviously, the way they won that World Cup towards the end of last year, that was a really good way for him to go out of the ODI scene, John. He has said that, if they do need an opener for the Champions Trophy next year, that he would be available. But, I think it's probably time to look in a new direction. I mean, he's late 30s now. They need to be looking towards the future, looking at other options. So, he will finish up his international career at that T20 World Cup in the middle of the year in America and the West Indies, John.
He had a poor lead up in the T20 domestic series in whatever country he was playing in. But then he had a good series, I think. I think he was 37 in the last game or something like that.
I'm sorry, John. I'm just trying to... The crick info is just not working for me at the moment. I'd normally look up the scorecards.
Well, what day was it?
The game was on Tuesday night. Yeah.
Tuesday night, which was the 13th.
Yeah.
And then, let's see, Australia, a bit slow today, internet.
Yes. A few internet issues.
The scorecard, checking it on smartb.com.au. Oh, he 81, Dave Warner.
Yeah.
81 or 49 balls.
Yeah.
I think it was the second game he got 37, and the first game he also hit 60 or something like that. Like, I can't be bothered looking it up because who cares?
Yeah.
But he played very well, and it'd be good. He'll be good if he continues that form into the World Cup.
Yeah. So it's good timing. So he'll be part of that T20 series in New Zealand as well. That'll be held before the 2 Test series.
You're starting next week.
Yeah. So Warner will be in that side, and showing really good signs of form going into that T20 World Cup, John.
Meanwhile, Pat Cummins' social media continues to get news.
Yeah. This was a good one, John. He made a post. I know I've been a bit critical of Pat Cummins and his Save the World complex, John.
Yep.
But he's made this post on Valentine's Day, a photo of himself and his wife. And he says, this is the quote, "Supermum, wife, my Valentine, and apparently a pro surfer too. Happy Valentine's, Becky Cummins." And then there's been a flood of comments from fans, with one of the comments reading, and I quote, "I am Indian, I love you, your wife." Sick. Sick as in, not correct grammar in the post.
Yeah.
Cummins then responded to the comment, "I'll pass it on to her!" exclamation. So very good comment there. I thought I'd give him a bit of a rap for that, John, because I have been critical of him previously.
Yeah, man, we do need cricketers to tell us how to save the world. And then Alex Carey equals the world record in a state one-day game.
Yeah. So Alex Carey took an unbelievable 8 catches, John, in South Australia's one-day cricket clash with Queensland on Wednesday. That equals the world record for a List A game. It was his first 50-over game since being dropped from the Australian side at the ODI World Cup last year. So he snared 8 of the 10 dismissals. Very impressive, John. So that 8 catches, as I said, equalled the List A world record. It was the most ever in a game in Australia. Only 2 others have ever taken 8 catches, both in English county cricket. The first to achieve the feat was Somerset keeper Derek Taylor in 1982, while fellow Glubman James Pipe also did it for Worcestershire in 2021. Carey is the only player to ever do it in a List A match in Australia. Peter Neville had 8 dismissals in an innings for New South Wales in 2017, but 2 of those were stumpings with 6 catches, so the 8 catches obviously trumps that. One of his catches, it was taken to dismiss the Queensland captain, Marnus Labuschagne, for 74 off 99, John.
What I want to know is, has Alex Carey ever had car keys thrown at him and missed the catch, as per our commenter the other day? Because I don't think he'd missed the catch. That's awesome. Well done, Alex Carey. 8 catches is ridiculously... that's cricket for the week. So it should be a slow next week, and then the following week is... When are they going to
I'm pretty sure the 21st of Feb is the first T20I in New Zealand, John. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it is, Wednesday. Yeah. So Monday we'll do a quick preview of that nobody will care about. At least it's T20s, then a couple of tests.
Yeah, the tests will be good. It's just a pity they're starting when the footy's on, John.
Yeah. So into AFL, Kane Cornes in the media. Man, he gets himself in the media and talks about people a lot.
Yeah, he does. He's very strongly opinionated.
Which is good for AFL.
I think they need someone like that.
He never says anything about the AFL, only about players and coaches.
Yeah, it's very well-directed criticism, isn't it?
But at least he gives us something to talk about. Yeah. So Western Bulldogs coach Luke Beveridge, great name. It sounds like a fake name, to be honest. Like something up-and-coming author would give. His name's Luke Beveridge. For not fronting the media in the pre-season. No, I thought they had to do it.
Yeah, well, Luke Beveridge has avoided it so far, John. So Corns' quotes, he said this on SEN radio, John. So Beveridge hasn't fronted the media at all in the pre-season. And Corns said, "I want to ask if there's more than goes into coaching than just coaching the team, because there's one coach in particular that I think has gone missing publicly this off-season. What is the responsibility for a coach like Luke Beveridge to front up more and be more accessible to the media and therefore the club's fans? There's been a lot of change at the Western Bulldogs. They've just completed the review. Oh, another joke of a review, John. We haven't really heard from anyone in particular, Beveridge, since Chris Grant has essentially been demoted. I think Chris Grant's the head of football at the Western Bulldogs and a former player. I don't know what that means. Former player.
Head of football.
There's been stories about tension between them. They're in the lowest 2 to 3 clubs in terms of supporter bases in Melbourne, and I think we need to hear from him more. He's essentially been invisible this summer. Bevo, I'm calling it, where's Bevo, in reference to Beveridge. So there you go, John.
I thought they had to. Don't they have a minimum requirement and stuff like that? But, you can't criticise the AFL. So Kane Cornes is actually...
Don't you think, John, does it read to you as though... It reads to me as though someone at the AFL is really annoyed with Luke Beveridge.
That's what I mean.
And they've got on the phone to Cornes and said, can you give him a spray in the media?
You can't criticise the AFL. But Kane Cornes seems to be a mouthpiece for the criticism.
Yeah.
Allegedly, conspiracy theory. Yeah. Oh my God!
Again, I don't know anything. I'm just making the suggestion.
Kane Cornes seems to be the mouthpiece for the AFL, who criticises players, clubs, and coaches if they don't toe the AFL line. That's what it seems to me. Every time we bring him up on this podcast, it's something like this. Kane Cornes has said this about this player. The player doesn't do what they're meant to do for the bloody AFL to blah blah blah. So I'm always now. Actually, thanks to my involvement with SmartB in this podcast, I'm now so suspicious of everything about AFL media.
Yeah.
Like, all the time.
Yeah, I mean, it really does feel like Kane Cornes is a mouthpiece for the AFL, John. But then again, I mean, he's got a valid point.
Yes.
I mean, that's the thing. Like, and I've seen Luke Beveridge press conferences in the past, John. He had one particular exchange with a reporter where he really lost it at a reporter, John. So he's had a checkered history with the press, with the media, Luke Beveridge. And I think he's one of these coaches who thinks, stuff the media, I don't want to give the media the time of day. But what they need to realise is the media is a mouthpiece or the media is a vehicle to get to the fans.
Exactly.
But by not talking to the media, you're not talking to the fans. It's not about the media. The media is a gateway to the fans. And, Western Bulldogs fans deserve to hear from their coach in the preseason, John, like fans of any other AFL or NRL club 100%. Over the off-season.
That's what I thought it was required. Anyway, we'll see what happens. AFL season's about to start, so there'll be no news but only updates.
Yeah, I was just going to say, John, I mean, Luke Beveridge, he won that premiership in 2016 with the Bulldogs, but this is a club that's on the slide. They made the grand final in 2021, but they were thumped by Melbourne by 74 points. 2022, they finished 8th, lost in the first week of the finals. 2023, they finished 9th. So this is a club that's having a slide. Luke Beveridge would want to just be a bit careful here that he doesn't get... He seemed to have had a falling out with the head of football, Chris Grant. He's got to be careful here, John, that he doesn't get on the wrong side of too many people.
Well, he could go this year if they don't improve.
For most coaches, 2 years of missing the 8, you're gone. Apart from a few exceptions. Well, Ricky Stewart's obviously an exception, but anyway.
We'll see what happens. As I said, there won't be any news throughout the year for the AFL. We'll only be able to do game previews and game reviews because that's all you get from the AFL. And Kane Cornes talking about certain players, coaches, and clubs. So, combat sports, this weekend is UFC 298, which is a pay-per-view. I unfortunately will not be able to watch it because it's my youngest son's birthday and I have to go to a birthday party with kids. I asked him if I could skip it. He said no.
Oh, happy birthday to your son, John.
Happy birthday, Alex.
Happy birthday.
Big 1-0. He's an adult now and needs to get a job. However, start paying his rent in today's cost of living crisis.
Word on early, John.
We've got a cost of living crisis, Alex, and we're buying you a birthday party. But Alex Volkanovski will be fighting Ila Tapuria. And as other Aussie fan favourite, Robert Whittaker will be fighting. So he's the Aussie fan favourite. And we'll be fighting just overall fan favourite and Twitter troll Paulo Costa. If you don't follow Paulo Costa on Twitter, definitely follow Paulo Costa on Twitter. It is hilarious. But yeah, so there's this thing that Alexander Volkanovski is trying to do. He's trying to break this over 35-year-old curse. So nobody in his weight division or something has ever defended a belt once they've turned 35, and he's going to aims to be the first. Ila Tapuria is on like a undefeated streak, but he's fought a bunch of people that aren't that good. And the problem with that division is there's Alexander Volkanovski, who is the champion, and there's Max Holloway, who's fought Alexander Volkanovski 3 times and lost. And Max Holloway can beat everyone in the division. So they can't keep feeding Max Holloway to Alexander Volkanovski. So they have to make these other guys that can't beat Max go up there. So it'll be good. But Sunday morning, first thing, SmartB subscribers and watch our social media. Myself and SmartB MMA ambassador Jake O'Driscoll will be putting out tips for the main card, so you can get your bets in. Yep. They will come out on Sunday. We're not going to tip every week, but we will tip every main card for the UFC. They'll be on the SmartB website, smartb.com.au. They will be on our social media, and hopefully we can get an email out to our users if you've signed up for notifications on MMA. I have to check with the dudes about that. That's it for UFC 298. Card is a banger. It's got a great main card. Okay prelim and early prelim. Some great fights on it. I wish I could watch it. I'll definitely be watching it when I get home. Into other sports news, bring on Tay. She's arrived touchdown in Australia.
Yeah. Did you end up getting tickets, John?
No. Somebody give me tickets. I'll do anything for them. My daughter will love me forever.
You put the call out to
her. No one will give me tickets. No one, because they're impossible to get. I'm even thinking of I keep seeing competitions. I'm thinking about buying stuff from stuff that I don't care. Like I saw a women's clothing store, where if you spend over $150, you can win Taylor Swift tickets. I was like, maybe I could buy some women's clothes. But that conspiracy that came true, there's been a recent poll that 1 in 5 Americans believe the conspiracy to be true. I can see that they would believe it, not that it's true. Because as we discussed, leading up to the match, all the money and the bets started going on the Chiefs. San Francisco was the favourites. And now I don't think that's because it was rigged. I think it's because so many people believed that it was rigged, so bet on the Chiefs anyway. I seriously think that. That's what I think the pathway went. Oh, it's rigged. I'm going to go bet on the Chiefs. And then I told you it was rigged. No, it wasn't rigged. You just believe it was and caused all the money to go that way. Yeah.
According to the New Jersey College, 18% of respondents said they believed in the conspiracy, while 46% said they had heard about it. Interesting that this is the quote from Patrick Murray, the director of the Monmouth University Polling Institute, said in a statement, and I quote, "Even many who hadn't heard about it before we polled them accept the idea as credible. Welcome to the 2024 election."
And if Biden wins, man, TikTok conspiracy sources is TikTok conspiracy theorists. Okay, if the source for the information from your TikTok video you're watching is another TikTok video, it's nonsense. Okay. Oh gosh. So yeah, Joe Biden's going to win anyway.
And we're talking about it because Taylor Swift is dating the NFL player Travis Kelce.
Yeah, that's right.
And it's sports related. And that allows us to talk about it on a sports podcast.
Okay, guys. Any way to say the words Taylor Swift and bump ourselves up that algorithm. And we got another one now because this is great. Fans take aim at Nick Kyrgios, algorithm bump, over his support for Andrew Tate, algorithm bump.
Yeah, I thought you'd like this one.
Nicky Boy will always give us news to talk about, and Andrew Tate is a grifter.
So what happened, John, is Andrew Tate has posted on social media, posted on X, Twitter, saying on Valentine's Day, saying, and I quote, "What is love if not obsession?" And then Kyrgios shared the post with his own caption, and I quote, "I agree, speaking facts as usual."
Oh, gosh.
So,
look, Andrew Tate is he's a grifter. He's a con artist. And people who follow him, unfortunately, I know some very smart people who follow him. Unfortunately, they've fallen for the grift. I don't buy into the liberal media thing about the misogyny and all that kind of stuff. I also don't believe... I mean, you can look at his criminal cases and the fact that they were basically thrown out and they're still trying to prove him and all that. I thought there was something sus that went on there, but the guy's a grifter. Yeah. And he doesn't say anything profound.
Yeah, I can't stand Andrew Tate.
No, me
John.
too.
I think he He thinks he knows everything. He thinks he has the answers to all the world's problems. He thinks that everybody needs to live the same way. He has a real black and white view of the world, and he doesn't seem to think there's any shades of grey in the world, which there are obviously a lot of shades of grey.
He's a grifter.
He's
That's why he does those profound statements telling you how you have to live your life to be like him or whatever.
Yeah. He doesn't realise that not everyone wants to be like him.
But some people will fall for it because that's the grift.
Yeah.
I think I've said before, I'm fully into these cults, right? I watch all the cult documentaries. I love them. I read all the cult books. I fully love them. Like, one of my favourite books of all time is Chaos, the book about Charlie Manson. Okay? And that was a government psyop. The CIA admitted it. But everything that I see Andrew Tate say and do, I see exactly in these cult grifting people, the leaders say and do as well. The two that I think he's most similar to are Keith Raniere from Nexium and R. Kelly. They seriously regurgitate the same statements. And people who fall for it, unfortunately, you're just falling for a grift. Nick Kyrgios is an idiot. He's not one of the smart people that I know that follows Andrew Tate. He's an idiot that follows Andrew Tate.
That's the thing, John. I think to think that Kyrgios actually, watches a lot of Tate stuff and goes into deep analysis of it, and comes to a considered position on these matters, I think that's giving Kyrgios a lot more credit than he deserves. I think what's much more highly likely, John, is two things. Firstly, Kyrgios, he just has a need for attention and wants to be deliberately controversial, and I think he's using this to be deliberately controversial.
100%.
That's the first point. The second point to make is he's just started up a podcast, Kyrgios, where he's had people like Gordon Ramsay on it, and I think that he's trying to position himself here as, a supporter of Tate to try and hopefully get Tate on his podcast and boost up his podcast. And, we notice how he's buddied up with people like Novak Djokovic, Gordon Ramsay. Again, I'm not saying Novak Djokovic is anywhere near as bad as Andrew Tate, John. Let me make that clear. But he makes this habit of buddying up to these people because he thinks it'll bolster him. And he wants to get... I'm sure that this is a strategy on his part to get Tate on his podcast, get in Tate's good books. And he wants to be seen with Andrew Tate because he thinks for whatever reason it's gonna big him up.
Yeah, people will watch it because they like the same reason they watch the enhanced games, because they want to watch Andrew Tate and he's hard to look away from.
Yeah, can you imagine if Nick Kyrgios had Andrew Tate on his podcast? The viewer numbers would go through the
exactly.
roof,
But
that's what this is about.
One really funny thing about Andrew Tate is all the people who see me criticize. I criticize him all the time. He does power poses, like this thing that was shown to be really stupid in the 1970s. I criticize him, people will be like, "Oh, you just don't understand what he's saying. You need to watch the long form stuff." I've watched all his long form stuff too. I don't come to this because I became interested in Andrew Tate and he broke my Instagram algo and I had to fully work on fixing it. I became interested in him because I saw people following him and then I saw his snippets and I thought, man, he sounds like that Keith Raniere guy. So I went deep into it because I was like, I love cults. I fully love cults, and I was like, so I watched all of his. I watched him on what's the name? Just Pearly Things. I watched the Piers Morgan interviews. I watched that BBC one where he proved the BBC reporter wrong and all that stuff. Yeah. And he's just a grifter. And people who latch onto him to become popular are just learning to be grifters. And they will find he will screw them.
Yeah, and I just don't like, John, how Andrew Tate seems to think there's a simple solution for complex problems, and there is not.
Yeah, that's part of the grift. Yeah, that's actually part of the grift. So that's one of the things with cult and cult-like leaders is they will provide you with simple solutions for complex problems that have no simple solution to appear as if they are profound, so you will follow them. Yeah. And that is the grift. That is literally like the whole grift of cult leaders. They'll tell you, like, you have all these issues in life, whatever they are, which in lots of problems are complex, and they'll give you a very simple solution. Just have sex with me. That's usually where it ends up. Seriously, all the cults end up with just have sex with me. And that's a really simple solution, right? But they say it in a profound way, so you end up having sex with them and giving them all your money. And then they convince you to murder people as part of a CIA psyop. Charlie Manson was framed. I don't believe Charlie Manson was framed. I just know that there was actually the CIA has admitted that there was a psyop involved with Charlie Manson.
He thinks there's blanket rules for everything. He thinks everybody can just solve their problems with a click of the fingers. He doesn't acknowledge, that everybody has a different journey in life. So there's certain issues that prevent certain people from becoming a certain way, and he just disregards all of that and just thinks there's a black and white solution to everything.
He leaves out the story of his pathway to where he got how did you become like Andrew Tate, to give you all these simple solutions. The truth is he exploited women, put them on sex chat lines, and exploited lonely men for thousands and millions of dollars from their credit card, and then got millions of dollars, and so doesn't have to work anymore. That's actually how he became Andrew Tate. It wasn't all these solutions he's presenting to everyone. Okay, he ran online sex chat things that you pay like $30 for 5 minutes and stuff like that. So
he's not a dignified individual, John. Far from it.
Just don't fall for the grift, people. Anyway, that's our other sports news. Bit of Tay-Tay, bit of Andrew Tate. Taylor Swift, Andrew Tate, algorithm, do your work.
We got him in there, John.
Yeah. Onto social media blower-uppers. Just a side note, it was pointed out to me by someone. The guy that said rugby isn't popular enough to have potties last week, somebody sent me, you should check that guy's profile. His profile picture is an AFL fan. Bro.
Well, that's the thing. A lot of people in Melbourne, John, and I'm guessing if he's an AFL fan, there's a good chance he's from Melbourne or one of the other AFL states. A lot of them just don't know the difference between rugby league and rugby union. They just call rugby league rugby and they either don't know the difference or they want to be condescending towards rugby league by calling it rugby.
His statement and his belief shows how stupid AFL fans are, or can be. Not all AFL.
Yeah, not all of them are like that, John. But
I'm an AFL fan.
It would be nice if they would show it the respect of calling it rugby league when it's rugby league.
On the Storm preview, I didn't expect to get a lot of comments on the Storm preview, to be honest. But
we got a few.
I love Steve Dunn on the Storm preview. Let's go Roosters. Okay.
Yeah. Thanks, Steve.
John Mealy on the Storm preview, protected by the refs and the NRL. That is a long-standing conspiracy theory. Riley O. Hi Riley again.
Thanks, Riley.
On Storm preview. Love the show. Cheers, gents. Not a lot to address in all three of those comments. Love you, Riley.
Yes.
I believe that the Storm, a lot of clubs can be protected by the refs and the NRL, and actually they admitted that there was a list about that years and years and years ago when Jason Riles was unfairly penalised by referees. And Steve Dunn, let's go Roosters. Cool, man. Splattered 63 on the Roosters preview. Connor Watson will play a heap of hooker, and if you think Tedesco has had it, you're delusional.
We're delusional, are we? Well, again, John, he played in the Kangaroos team that lost 30-0 in that Pacific Championships final. Looked very tired in that New South Wales Origin series last year, which New South Wales lost. It was a lot of people thought the Roosters underachieved last year, and that had a fair bit to do with Tedesco's slide in form. So I don't think it makes us delusional. Those are the facts of the matter there.
Yeah, and regarding Connor Watson, I actually went and asked basically every football fan and expert I know if they think Connor Watson will play a heap of hooker, and every single one of them said, yeah, off the bench as a bench impact player, because that's Connor Watson's best spot. So, yeah, I still think that Brandon Smith is a weak link at hooker, although some of my mates, like Flower Scientist, reckons he's in for a big year at hooker. I think you're wrong, Seth. But, we agree to disagree. Tedesco can have the year of his life, or he can continue his form slump. Paul Heathwood, that was the guy from Monday that said we should give ourselves a dozen uppercuts or whatever. Yes, the boys will want to address the comments, he means, as they made fools of themselves. Anyway, God bless them, they're having a go, but I can see it's just another Rooster Bash jealousy channel. Wrong!
Okay, so I don't understand that, John. We've, in the face of a lot of criticism of Trent Robinson, we've constantly defended their coach, Trent Robinson, against against a lot of people calling him overrated. I've strongly disagreed with that a number of times on here, John. We've also said that they're going to go from making the semi-finals last year, week 2 of the finals, into the top 4 this year. We've constantly talked about how Dom Young is a very good pickup for them, the leading try scorer. We've also constantly talked about how good Spencer Lenny is going to be for them as a bench impact forward, probably the best bench impact forward in the game. So you put all that together, John, and I think we've really been fair to the Roosters.
I'm going to reiterate that we said that the Roosters have one of the best teams on paper.
We've said
the only thing was I see a weakness in their 1 and their 9 that doesn't matter because the rest of their team is so good.
Yeah. I don't think us saying that their fullback underperformed last year, which is, I think, as we've documented, I think is a very fair comment to make in light of everything that happened last year. I don't think that makes us a Roosters jealousy bashing channel.
Man, I go to Roosters games all the time. Like, seriously, just pay attention to the video. Lee State on the Dragons preview, up the Dragons. Team is no worse than last year on paper. I agree with this, by the way. Team's no worse than last year on paper. Yeah. If not better, but have a much better coach. 2 of the best pickups off-field in Andrew Gray and Dan Lawson. Last year was a horror season and lost several games by 6 points or less. Don't expect a challenge for the premiership, but will be better than last year. They may not blow sides away, but they will be fit and they will be bastards to play against. Look, man, clearly you're a Dragons fan, my friend. I hope so. I don't have that belief, unfortunately, in our team. I believe they will... go worse. I think Dan had them finishing higher than
the Dragons. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I had them 14th. John. Still bottom 4, but a bit better than yourself.
As I keep saying, I just hope they accept the fact that they're not going to go perfectly, and then Flano will solve everything over the course of years. The general, up your general. Yes. Reason I say Sticky was unlucky in 2003, even though Penrith played better on the night, is the result still came down to one play, essentially the Scott Sattler tackle. Mentioned in a comment before, but 53rd minute in the pouring rain, low scoring game at time. If Todd Byrne takes that round under the post, it's 12-6 Roosters. They have 16 minutes to ice it with a field goal. Just think there's a world where he has 3, 4, 5 rings. Raiders will go back to nothing without him. In 2016, 2019, they were in it up to their eyeballs. Before that, they hadn't made a prelim for 20 years in a joint competition and a grand final for 25 years. I love the fact that you like Ricky Stewart, dude. Like, I really do.
Yeah.
I love the fact that you like it and you stand by your guns, and we can't convince you otherwise, but you're never going to convince me otherwise.
Yeah, it's just there's a lot of ifs, buts, maybes, if this happened, if that happened, John. That's the thing. I mean, he says it was pouring rain, low scoring. Yeah, it was, and Penrith won by 12. They won 18-6 in a low scoring game.
I think that Scott Sattler tackle definitely changed the game.
Yeah, it did change the game, but I mean, these things happen in games. Yeah, it happened. You know.
You can look at Kevin Walters, this what and but. If they had defended against Nathan Cleary for 15 minutes, they would have won.
Yeah. But in the pouring rain, a 12-point margin is like a 20-point margin in the dry, John. So I would have thought an 18-6 win in the rain means that it's a comprehensive win. But anyway, we always like the general, John, always provides constructive feedback.
Also, I agree. I believe in the multiverse, and there is definitely a universe where Ricky Stewart has 100 rings. Sheldon Wilson 4450 on the Warriors preview said, that's a very bold prediction. Bro, in saying that, I threw a Hail Mary and put 20 on them to win the ship for $460 return. You've convinced people.
Have I opened a Pandora's box here, John?
Bet with your head not over it, guys.
Yeah, please gamble responsibly.
It's a good bet, you know. Not for me, but for Dan. Hopefully it comes off for you, Sheldon Wilson. On the Warriors preview, Conrad Ashby 5967. Warriors for 2024, fingers crossed that they'll do it, but I'm pretty sure they can take it this year. Up the wires, we got this. We got this for. They might be emojis that didn't cop it over. Yeah. We got this. Yeah, again, hopefully you get it. You're in with Sheldon Wilson. Sheldon Wilson's going to win $460.
Yeah. Absolutely, John.
Hanlon's on hiatus on the Warriors preview said they have before in 2020.
So I just want to clear that up, John. So I'm not sure what
I think he's talking about the minor premiership.
Right, minor. Okay, so just to clear it up, the Warriors have not won a premiership, but they have made 2 grand finals in 2002 and 2011 and won 1 minor premiership in 2002.
I'm pretty sure we looked it up at the time.
We did, yeah. So 2 grand final appearances, 1 minor premiership, but no premiership at this stage.
And Michael McFadden 9699 on the Warriors preview. I've already whacked a big bet on him. Got him on $23.
I've created a monster here, John. Please gamble responsibly, everybody. Please.
Bet with your head not over it. Oh, God, I can't wait to bring up the end of the year. This is the end of the year, guys. Now I'm scared.
Yeah, John, we're at the end of the comments, are we?
One more that I just saw on Reddit. I love this one. It's on our Reddit ad. Remarkable Law 9665 said, looks like the kind of guys to get Brumby's bakery pies for a treat.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
You're incorrect.
For your feedback.
I do love a microwave meat pie, but I prefer Scott's. And one time I ate 7 of them in one sitting.
Yeah.
So.
I either go 4 and 20 or Village.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you for your comment. Thank you for your feedback. Can I just say one thing? If we are,
we're just going to go to end of the comments now.
Yeah. John, I was just going to say, I just want to clear up one thing I said before on Latrell Mitchell. Obviously, I pointed out that there were 2 examples of people going too far in their criticism. Rod Churchill calling him a cancer. It wasn't on. It was terrible. Johnny went way too far. And also Josh Aloiai liking that comment that supported that, the comment that was out of line and went too far on Latrell as well, John. He should never be subjected to any racism, nor should anybody else. I think I just wanted to clear up, John. I don't think that Latrell has ever used that to make himself immune from other criticism, but I think that people going too far, like those 2 examples I've mentioned, has resulted in other people, journalists, etc., reporters, commentators in the media, has resulted in others going, all right, I'm just not going to criticise him at all for anything, even when there is legitimate reason to be critical.
I completely agree. That's what I mean about the dominoes. Like, we should be talking about Latrell's community work and the fact that he does things, and he does bring up the fact that he has been racially abused and stuff as a child, and it's still ongoing. We should be talking only about that.
Yes,
and we should be making society changes based on the feedback and like I always say, like Pat Cummins shouldn't be talking about the Australia Day, but Latrell Mitchell has skin in the game, okay? So it would be great if we hear from him. Then you move to the fact that there's so much other stuff that he involves himself in and mentions that is irrelevant, and he sometimes acts like a bit of an idiot in the media, okay? And those are the things that journalists should... That's the next domino. Journalists should say, like, stay in your lane, Latrell.
Yeah.
But then you move to the fact that some people say and do such stupid things over Latrell, like so polarizing, that you lose those dominoes. We don't even ever get to all the good he does because journalists won't criticize him for the bad he does, and so people will go too far on him.
Yeah, that's right. I just wanted to make that clear. I don't think Latrell uses that to his advantage himself. No, but I believe that others look at those extreme examples like Josh Aloiai and Rod Churchill. I wouldn't say that Josh Aloiai was quite as extreme as Rod Churchill.
Well, he didn't say it.
But I both
accidentally liked it.
Yeah. But I mean, he went too far, Josh Aloiai, for sure.
Accidentally.
But I'm just pointing out that I think that commentators in the media, journalists, reporters, look at that and go, right, I'm just not going to criticise him about anything, even when it is justifiable. I was just going to make that point, John. Yeah, look, I think, to be fair, I think Buzz Rothfield was critical of Latrell when he wouldn't chase for those players, John.
Yeah.
When we wouldn't chase for the players, and that was seen on the vision.
Yeah, that's what I think. That's the stuff that needs to be discussed.
Buzz did call that out, but I think he was the only one, John. We had those other examples like Andrew Webster, where he said, it's not my job to hold him accountable, when Michael Chammas asked him, look, are you going to hold Latrell accountable? Yeah. Quite rightly, Chammas asked that question. And Webster just said, it's not my job. That's an example of a journalist just going too far the other way, John, and backing away from holding him accountable at all. But I should give credit to Buzz Rothfield. He did point out that Latrell wasn't chasing for players.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the thing, John. I just thought I wanted to make that clear. And I think that's we've made a fair
100%.
Here, John.
I mean, I always wish we could only talk about Latrell Mitchell's community work and the fact that he seeks society change for Aboriginal people, which is something that needs to be done. He's an avid supporter of Indigenous round. What's the reading thingy? Close the Gap. He's a supporter of that. He does a lot of community work. You know, Australia has history, like negative history, but the fact that people call him a cancer and stuff goes through this domino effect that we don't get to talk about that, and instead we have to talk about people calling him a cancer.
Yeah, which we don't want to be doing.
Yeah, exactly.
Look, good luck to Latrell with captaining the Indigenous All-Stars team. And look, good luck to him this season, John. We all want him to get back to his...
Go Indigenous All-Stars, beat those Maoris. So that's it for the week. Just a housekeeping. Don't forget to sign up for the tipping competitions, AFL and NRL. There is $10,000 in prizes for each week. Well, it's up to $20,000 in prizes up for grabs. Tip against Mitchell Pearce and Julie Snook, the ambassadors. Soon we will have fantasy tipping, which works differently for UFC, where you'll be able to tip against me and Jake. Sign up to SmartB for tip of the day. At the moment, it's just racing, but we're soon developing all the rugby league ones and all that kind of stuff that'll come through. Mm-hmm. You can also win 2 tickets to Subversion to see SmartB ambassador Jake O'Driscoll compete on the card. And tonight, the SmartB racing update will publish. We're trying to get them just to get it a day earlier, which we're working on. They're going quite well with the tips in that. So listen to the SmartB Racing update on Spotify and all podcasting platforms, soon to be on YouTube as well. And follow SmartB app at SmartB app on social media. And have a wonderful weekend.
Thanks, John. Have a good weekend, mate. I'll catch you Monday.
Beautiful. Bye, Producer Pyle.